Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the Strength Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta and how good he is after his super easy air. Now this Vegeta unfortunately got a pretty weird easy air. There's a lot of good stuff, but there's also some stuff that just doesn't work super well against some of the bosses of the current meta. Vegeta has Ki plus 3, attacking defense of 200%. When attacking with 12 or more Ki, he gets attack of 200% and defense of 100%. For 10 turns from the start of battle from his entry turn, he has defense of 150% up, high chance of performing a critical hit, and damage reduction rates of 80%, which is really good. From the 11th turn onwards, he has 50% damage reduction, and when the target enemy is stunned, he gets attack of 200% and performs a guaranteed critical hit. If facing a super class enemy, he launches an attack that has a high chance of becoming a super. When facing an extreme class enemy, he launches a guaranteed additional. Golden Warrior, Saiyan Warrior Race, Super Saiyan, Over in a Flash, Limit Breaking Form, and Fierce Battle are his links. He has a high chance, which is 50% chance of stunning on his super. And he's on very limited categories. Pure Saiyans, Worthy Rivals, Gifted Warriors, Power Beyond Super Saiyan 3 mainly being the big ones. The big issue with Vegeta is his start of turn defense is not very high. We're looking at a unit that start of turn defense is around anywhere between 200 to 340,000. Now that may not sound like an issue. You'd think with 80% damage reduction he would be fine, but it just doesn't work now. The hardest fights in the game are hitting with 6 million attack stats. Even with taking the 6 million, applying the defense to it before super obviously, and then applying the 80% damage reduction, you're still taking 800k, 1 million, 1.2 mil. It just doesn't work out, unfortunately. When Vegeta has a bit more defense, so post super, when he's sitting at that like 700, 800k mark, definitely tanks a lot better. Then if you add in the Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who obviously when transformed provides 10% damage reduction and 70% defense, then Vegeta looks really solid. But remember, Vegeta only has 80% damage reduction for the first 10 turns from his entry. You usually get Goku around about turn 5 or 6, which means you really only have 90% damage reduction, 500k defense Vegeta for about 2 rotations. So it can work. It's just another kind of way where you need a unit that's doing a lot of heavy lifting already for a lot of teams he's on, which kind of boosts AGL Goku's usability yet again. The big thing with Vegeta is that his damage is also quite conditional. He can hit like 20 million, 24 million, but it depends on having the unit be able to be stunned. If the unit can be stunned, he can hit some really good attack stats. If the unit cannot be stunned, then he can't hit amazing attack stats at all. And that's kind of his limitation. I just think Vegeta, for what it's worth, for how he functions and everything, I just find that he's a little bit too limited, for me at least. Like, obviously I would have loved him to be absolutely perfect. I think they needed to just add in guard, or add in 90% damage reduction, or just make the 80% flat for 10 turns. Then at least by the time Goku comes out, Vegeta will be really tanky. 90% damage reduction is huge regardless. One thing I do like about Vegeta to a certain extent is he is quite crit proof. Like, although obviously he was defeated there, 700k in that situation is not bad at all. And being able to be quite crit proof, because crits are very heavily counted by damage reduction, is something that I think is good. So Vegeta with any kind of item or assistance or anything like that, he's not going to take huge damage, but you can see even here, like, he's taking chip damage. He is struggling. The stunning does come in useful, and I think that's something that's really good. And when he has type advantage, he tanks amazingly. Obviously, between the damage reduction and the guard, in those situations, he tanks like an absolute beast. So there's definitely a big incentive there where he can kind of really hit it hard and tank incredibly well. He just seems a little bit limited. Like, you definitely want to have Super Saiyan 3 Goku to run with him, or Daima Vegeta is a great choice because of his defensive boost raises. I do think they've factored that in, that on his best team, he's going to have SS3 Daima Vegeta, and he's going to have Goku, and he's going to have all these units. But I just think, like, to factor all that in, because you're scared of making a unit too tanky, is a little bit of a shame. Just because, like I say, I think, for me personally, Vegeta is a really good tank with all those tools made available to him. If you get the raise from SS3 Daima Vegeta, and you've got the 10% damage reduction from Goku going on, and, you know, Vegeta can tank. Like, Vegeta can tank like a beast, you know. But it's just very situational. And because it's on a timer, a lot of these longer form events, like Red Zones and Supreme Magnificent Battles, it just doesn't work for Vegeta. Like, he just doesn't have, you know, that kind of really strong defensive performance. Like, he just really struggles with that. So I think for me, that's probably the one thing I would say. It does feel like he's a little bit too hindered by that kind of key concept of, like, needing those supports. He can still definitely be usable. He, of course, is great in a lot of situations, but that's all he feels like. He's a great situational unit, whereas I think a lot of people were hoping for a great every situation unit, which he's been in the past. Yeah, in the past, he's really been like, oh, this is my tanky Vegeta that's not going to take any damage and it's going to stun the opposition. That was what he was. Now, because of how they've worked him, and because of how they've changed bosses, and just how big attack stats have got, it's just not enough what they have given him, unfortunately. Which goes to show that, unfortunately, the raw defensive number is somewhat important, especially, you know, with how big bosses hit now.